Welcome to the deep dive. So today we're digging into something we're seeing more and more. U.S. tech companies looking north, expanding into Canada.
That's right. It's definitely a noticeable shift.
Yeah, and we've been looking through an article that lays out some of the strategic reasons why this might be a good move. Our mission, really, is to pull out the key takeaways for you.
Especially if you're in a U.S. tech business and maybe, just maybe, thinking about this kind of expansion.
Exactly. We want to give you the clear insights, the actionable stuff, without getting bogged down in absolutely everything.
Okay, sounds good. And Canada's definitely stepping up its game, emerging as, well, a real global tech hub.
It's not just close by, is it? It seems like it's actively pulling in some big industry names.
It really is. It offers a pretty favorable environment, particularly for U.S. tech and, interestingly, fintech businesses looking to grow internationally.
So what are the main draws then, based on what we've seen?
Well, the material we looked at really points to a few key areas. Things like cost savings, which is always big,
Yeah.
the strength of its specific tech hubs, some regulatory benefits, and, yeah, some compliance advantages, too.
Okay, let's start with the big one then. Costs, the money side. The article definitely highlighted potential savings.
Yeah, it did.
Let's talk salaries, talent costs. The numbers are quite telling.
They really are.
So in the big U.S. centers, think San Francisco, New York, Seattle, you're looking at average software engineer salaries, maybe $120,000 to $150,000 a year?
Roughly, yeah. That's the ballpark.
But then you look at Canada, Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, and the average seems to be more like $80,000 to $110,000.
That's a significant difference. We're talking potential payroll savings of, 30 to 40%.
Yeah, around that. And if you're scaling up a team, that kind of saving is, it's massive. It could really change the economics.
It absolutely could. I mean,
Yeah.
Think about it. That kind of saving frees up capital, right? For
Yeah.
R&D, for marketing, maybe hiring even more people.
Good point. And it's not just salaries. Office space is another huge expense.
Oh, definitely. A major overhead.
And the article contrasts, say, San Francisco, where commercial rent averages maybe $70 per square foot,
Which is, frankly, quite high.
compared to Toronto, where it's more in the $35 to $50 range.
Exactly. So, again, you could potentially slash your office costs pretty significantly, and you're still in a major city with access to talent.
Okay, so salaries, rent. What about taxes? That's always complicated.
Yes, taxes. The article touches on this too. In the U.S., you've got the federal corporate rate at 21%,
Right?
but then you have to add state taxes. California's 8.84%, New York 7.25%. It adds up.
So how does Canada compare?
Well, Canada's combined federal and provincial rates generally land somewhere between, say, 23% and 27%.
So maybe not drastically different at first glance.
On the surface, maybe not. But, and this is the key part the article stresses, it's the tax credits and incentives that really change the picture.
Okay. Especially for R&D.
Precisely. Research and development. These credits can bring the effective tax rate down significantly for tech companies in Canada. It makes it much more competitive than just looking at the headline rate.
Like the SR&ED credit, scientific research and experimental development.
Exactly that one.
Yeah.
SR&ED can be a really big deal. We should probably talk a bit more about that later. But yeah, taxes are more nuanced than just the base rate.
Got it. So cost savings seem pretty compelling, but where is this activity actually happening? Which cities?
Good question. The article highlights the main tech hubs. Toronto is definitely a big one.
It seems to be growing incredibly fast.
It really is one of the fastest in North America. We're talking over 240,000 tech workers there.
Wow.
And you've got the giants, Google, Microsoft, Uber. They all have major offices, R&D centers there. It signals something, right?
Definitely lends credibility. And isn't there something about faster hiring?
Yeah, the global talent stream. It's designed to help companies bring in skilled foreign workers more quickly. That's a huge plus if you need specialized talent fast.
Okay, so Toronto's key. What about out west? Vancouver.
Vancouver gets mentioned too. It's attractive, partly because it's closer to Silicon Valley, geographically convenient.
Makes sense. What's its specialty?
It seems to be strong in gaming, AI, and also blockchain, kind of cutting-edge stuff.
And they have programs, too.
Yep. Canada's startup visa program is one, and they apparently have fast-track work permits to help bring in talent and encourage new companies. So you see that cross-border flow.
Interesting. And then there's Montreal.
We absolutely have to talk about Montreal. It's become a powerhouse, especially in AI.
Because of Mila.
Exactly. Home to Mila, the research lab founded by Yoshua Bengio. It's huge in the deep learning world.
But it's not just AI, right?
No, not at all. Montreal is also big in fintech, cybersecurity, and has a really vibrant gaming startup scene as well.
And the incentives there.
Potentially quite significant. The article mentioned businesses might get up to 30% back in R&D tax credits.
30%, that's substantial.
It really is. That kind of support can seriously fuel innovation.
Okay, so we've covered costs, talent, the main city hubs. What about the rules and regulations? That can be a headache for businesses.
Oh, absolutely. And the article suggests Canada might have an edge here. It contrasts the, let's say, often complex layers of state and federal rules in the U.S.
Yeah, that can be a maze.
with what it describes as a more business-friendly environment in Canada.
How so? Like setting up a company.
Exactly. Incorporation. The article points out that in Canada, you could potentially get incorporated in just a few days.
Really? Days?
Seems so. And you have choices provincial or federal, and you generally avoid those complicated multi-state tax filings you deal with in the U.S.
That sounds simpler. A lot simpler. Saves time, saves money, presumably.
That's the idea. Less friction to get started.
And what about protecting your ideas? Intellectual property, that's crucial for tech.
Super important. The article notes that Canada's IP laws are pretty well aligned with U.S. and international standards.
So things like patents, trademarks, copyrights.
On this offer.
Okay.
Yeah, it makes that process relatively straightforward. Provides a level of, comfort and security if you're expanding across the border.
Okay. So general business setup seems easier. What about specific industry compliance? Like for fintech or SaaS?
Right. That's another area the article highlights compliance advantages.
Yeah.
It suggests Canada offers a more flexible or supportive landscape for these fast-moving sectors.
More supportive than the U.S.
Potentially, yeah.
Sure.
Compared to what can sometimes be stricter requirements stateside, especially for things like fintech, SaaS, AI-driven businesses.
Okay, tell me more about fintech. That seems to be booming in Canada.
It really is. The article mentioned over 1,200 fintech startups there.
Wow.
And a key thing is the presence of regulatory sandboxes.
Sandboxes, what's that?
It's basically a controlled environment where companies can test out new, innovative financial products or services without having to meet all the full, heavy regulations right away. It encourages experimentation.
That makes sense. Lets you test the waters.
Exactly. Plus, Canada has a very stable, well-regarded banking system, and it seems pretty open to working with these new fintech solutions. Creates a good ecosystem.
Right. And you mentioned incentives before. Let's circle back to those. The SR&ED tax credit.
Yes. The Scientific Research and Experimental Development Tax Credit. It's a big one.
Yeah.
As we touched on, tech companies might be able to claim back up to 35% of their eligible R&D costs.
Up to 35%. That's huge for innovation budget.
Absolutely massive. And there are other programs too, like IRAP, the Industrial Research Assistance Program, which offers other funding support.
So it's not just one thing, it's a package of support.
It seems that way. These aren't just small perks. They can genuinely impact a company's ability to invest in its own future growth.
Okay, so wrapping this up then, this deep dive looking at the source material, it really does build a strong case, doesn't it?
It certainly presents some compelling points, yeah.
For U.S. tech companies thinking about Canada, we're seeing, what, lower operational costs potentially?
Check. Salaries, rent, maybe effective tax rates.
Access to a growing, dynamic tech talent pool.
Definitely. In key hubs across the country.
These thriving tech hubs themselves, like Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal.
Each with its own strengths and support systems.
And overall, a regulatory environment that seems, well, more welcoming, especially for innovative sectors like tech and fintech.
Yeah, more supportive, perhaps less complex to navigate in some areas.
So when you put all that together,
Canada doesn't just look like a convenient neighbor.
Yeah.
It starts to look like a really strategic move, a potentially very advantageous location for U.S. tech companies wanting to grow internationally and scale up.
right. Which leads us to a final thought, something for you, the listener, to think about. Considering all these advantages we've discussed, the cost savings, the talent, the hubs, the regulations, which specific parts of your business model might see the biggest boost from expanding into Canada?
Yeah, and what new doors might that open? What new possibilities for innovation, for growth, could this kind of move unlock for your company down the road?
Definitely something worth mulling over.